Ahoy! This is a very quick one-take video. I have a very important thing to share with you, a change that is coming in a couple of hours. So if you want to take advantage of that beforehand, this is your last chance. So I just want to get that out quickly. There is a fix coming for the old perks that you can place on new crafted items. This is something that is currently, for example, possible with something like Disdain Infliction 1, and then you roll an item with 3 sockets and another perk. They say this was not intended, so they have removed the ability to use perk items on these recipes. For already crafted items, that mix with the new and old perks, they've swapped out all the old perks with an empty charm slot. So mastery perks, like any ability related perks, became skill slots, offensive themed perks like vicious or enchanted became offensive slots, and defensive themed perks like keenly fortified or whatever became defensive slots. This is very, very relevant when it comes to crafting gear before then, because you can kind of control at least one slot that you get on the item, which you normally can't. At the moment, there is no option to choose an offensive slot, for example, or a defensive slot. And on top of that, this means you are rolling 4 sockets, which is typically something they're restricting to M3s. They might go back on this because originally they said they're not going to put slots on them. So craft at your own risk here. But personally, I'm going to craft at least a few items in case they decide to stick with this. Because it's also an easy way to craft an item with 3 other sockets and a guaranteed gem slot on top of that. And they haven't mentioned the gem slot specifically in here. But I'm assuming it's not going to stay that way afterwards. I'm assuming it's going to be 3 slots and one of them is going to be the gem slots, rather than an additional 4th slot being the gem slot. So for certain items, this is better, and for like worse for other at the same time. For example, if you use an offhand weapon that you're not really using much and you just want to have as many sockets as possible on there for extra perks that apply while you're on your main hand, this is great. Also, this is very nice for armor in some cases, because some armor perks just aren't that good. And in offensive builds especially, you want to have as many sockets as possible, for PvE especially. So as such, I think this is something to utilize, unless you're someone who frequently runs M3s anyways, and you can get your gear that way. It is possible that you might still be able to get these items after the patch if they don't change how gem sockets work, if they continue to be 4 sockets that way. But as we understand it, that was not their plan. So I would recommend crafting this beforehand if you can, just in case it stays relevant, just in case it stays useful. There are some other changes in here as well. I will talk about those too. But if you appreciate the information so far, then consider subscribing and clicking the bell. Now, some other fixes that we're getting in the same patch coming at 11 p.m. PT today, so a couple hours from now, and with a 1.5 hours downtime. They fixed some issues with some players who were unable to access the Seraphim Soul Trial and Monastery Isle. Fixed some issues where quests did not progress after speaking to the NPC. That was really annoying. Fixed an issue where the gates in Catacombs would sometimes not open after killing raffle bones. This would basically brick your run, so very important fix. They fixed an issue where the extraction portal would fail to spawn, causing players to fail to extract in the Catacombs. Fixed an issue where Catacombs levers were not interactable. It runs into similar issues. Fixed an issue where the secret door in Castle Dracula was occasionally not open as expected. And they fixed an issue where artifacts would sometimes revert to a previous gear score level after being upgraded at the gypsum kiln. This was only specific ones, it seemed, so this wasn't a major issue with a lot of them, but annoying if you ran into it. They also fixed an issue where applying the last perk charm of any type in your inventory to an item causes that charm of the type to be broken if applying another perk charm of that type. They fixed an issue where territory standing boosters did not apply to territory standing at a Nighthaven. I actually thought this was on purpose. This is interesting. They reduced the distance players can hear doors when being opened throughout Nighthaven. Good call on that one. They were extremely loud and you could hear them everywhere. I always thought it was just like some background noise that was intentional until I realized, wait, it's actually the doors. Fixed an issue which prevented the focus set, the tenacity set, and several infix items from appearing on the PvP reward track. I was wondering about this because it seemed like they should be available from there, but there were a lot of them that weren't really showing up. So PvP reward track after this patch should be looking a lot more interesting. It already had some very nice pieces beforehand, so PvP reward track definitely one to keep an eye on. Fix an issue where some mobs required for MSQ quests would fail to spawn. Fix an issue where the elementally charged set bonus wouldn't trigger if the chest piece for the bonus was not equipped. And fix various crashing issues. So overall, pretty significant fixes for some of the major issues. We're still waiting on some more changes to items, to legendary drop rate, I'm assuming. but I think for a quick fix, there should be some good stuff in here, and hopefully you guys can still take advantage of these crafts while they're available. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing and clicking the bell. And if you'd like to support me further, you can do so on Patreon. SLOTH, out.